Welcome to Sage Audio. Today let's look at how to mix trap. But first, if you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Mixing trap kick. In this video, we have a lot to cover, so let's start with drums, move to instruments, then vocals, and then finally the stereo output. Now the kick needs to be aggressive and cut through the mix. For the kick in this mix, I wanted to have more low end, so I started with an EQ and boosted the lows, and with a tilt filter I reduced the click or the beater of the samples that were used. To get an aggressive punchy sound, I used this 1176 emulation and set the fastest attack and release times to distort the transient, making the kick cut through. Now you'll see this trick used a good amount in this mix. Lastly, I introduced an Oxford inflator to make quieter details of the kick come forward, making it more powerful. To start, let's take a listen to the full before and after of this mix with gain compensation used to hear how drastically the processing will change the sound.
It's that time again, we gotta go. Take one, then I dash away from Popo. Snakes around my grass, they want my dodo. But I keep a 40, they don't know, no. Got to hear me, you get cold.
Mixing 808 with kick. How you blend your kick and 808 is pretty crucial since both need to have a place in the mix, but often compete with one another. Now I started by giving the 808 distinct distortion. These harmonics will help separate the 808 and the kick by varying the 808's frequency response and timbre. Like last chapter, I used an 1176 compressor to distort the transients, causing an aggressive sound. Next, I used another compressor, but I sidechained the kick. This way, whenever the kick hits, my 808 is attenuated, letting the 808 fill the mix, and the kick be responsible for dynamics. Lastly, with an EQ, I sidechained the kick again to see where the two frequencies overlap and cut out some of the 808's lows to give the kick more room. Let's take a listen to the two instruments before and after this processing is enabled, and keep in mind that I haven't enabled the drum bus's processing yet, which will further change the sound. If you're enjoying the video, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It's free and it helps us bring you more videos. Trap snares and hi-hats. Trap snares, hi-hats, and percussion need to be bright and aggressive, so like before, I'll use the 1176 compressor to distort their transients as well as increase each signal's output to impart harmonics from the processor. Now for the snare and the hi-hat, I use short reverb to thicken them. For some of my percussion, I didn't want it to stay in the mid-image, so I introduced a sample delay and delayed one channel to send the signal to the far left and right. Let's take a listen to these changes, and again, keep in mind that the drum bus's processing is off for now. Trap drum bus overview. Drum bus processing is how we're going to achieve a cohesive sound amongst the drums. Now I'll start with this bus compressor set to mid-side and with the channels trigger delinked. Now this means that the mid will be compressed more often than the side, resulting in dynamic stereo expansion. Next, I used a mid-side EQ to expand the side image's high frequencies and to cut out some of the lows, in turn making the lows more mono and focused. Then I used a clipper. This will add white noise whenever clipping occurs, resulting in a brighter, more aggressive, and punchier sound. Lastly, I placed a free plugin Fresh Air after the clipper to further accentuate the highs it created and to brighten the overall sound. There's a Gullfoss EQ here as well, but note that that's not entirely needed. It just further brightened the sound, and this bus 4 is something that we'll cover in a future chapter. Let's take a listen to before and after all of this processing. Trap instrument bus overview. Although I'll add some processing to individual melodic instruments, like this tremolo control to dynamically alter the stereo image of an instrument, the majority of the processing that I'll do is going to be on the bus. I'll start with the MV2 to upward compress and bring forward quieter details of each instrument. Then, I'll use this PSP saturator to create cohesion by adding the same harmonics to all three instruments that I'm using. Additionally, it lets me avoid aliasing with this oversampling option. Next came this Vinyl Strip plugin, which I mainly used to get a lo-fi quality to the entire sound with some noise and wow or frequency modulation. Also, the tilt filter helped to brighten the overall sound. Again, I used Fresh Air to amplify the air bands of the signal, and I also used the Gullfoss EQ. This time the Gullfoss EQ played a more active role in amplifying and attenuating various frequencies to reduce masking. Lastly, we'll cover what Bus 4 does next chapter. Let's take a listen to what this processing collectively does to the instrument bus. Side image, send technique. For both my drum bus and my instrument bus, I've created a parallel send. On the send, I use the plugin MSED to mute the mid image, in turn, isolating the side image. Then I use transient expansion on the side image, as well as Fresh Air to create a dynamic and aggressive stereo image. This way, a lot of the details from the instruments that got lost on the sides are reintroduced, causing a brighter, more detailed, and impressive stereo image. Let's take a listen to this parallel track being introduced. Trap, vocal processing. Next, let's move on to the lead vocal, the double, and ad-lib vocal. I'll need to know the key of my track, in this case C minor, so that I can tune to the right notes. For the lead and the double, I'll use short, soft knee compression. Ideally, this compression will have auto makeup gain and look ahead to bring the vocals to the front of the mix. With an EQ, I can cut out the lows to reduce their masking effect on higher frequencies and boost presence and air to make the vocal and the double cut through the dense mix. Lastly, I'll send the ad-lib to the far left and right using a sampled delay, similar to what I did with some of my percussion. Let's take a listen to the vocal, but with the vocal bus processing turned off for now.
It's that time again, we gotta go. Yeah. Take on the dash away from pole. Yeah. Snakes around my grass, they want my dodo. Yeah. But I keep a 40, they don't know, no. Yeah. Got the Hemi, you get cold. Yeah.
If you're enjoying the channel, use the search box to watch more of our videos. Trap Vocal Bus Overview. The Vocal Bus uses 4 processors, a saturator to create cohesive harmonics and to fill the frequency spectrum of the vocal, Fresh Air to brighten the vocals, the Gullfoss EQ to dynamically balance the frequency spectrum, and lastly, reverb that's isolated to the mid frequencies to help blend it into the mix. There's a Bus 5 as well, but we'll take a look at that next chapter. Let's take a listen to how this vocal processing creates a cohesive and balanced sound for the vocals.
It's that time again, we gotta go. Yeah. Take on then I dash away from pole. Yeah. Snakes around my grass, they want my dodo. Yeah. But I keep a 40, they don't know, no. Yeah. Got the Hemi, you get cold. Yeah.
Sibilance, send technique. Last up for vocals, let's take a look at this bus. With it, I'll send the entirety of my vocals to a parallel track on which I've inserted a linear phase EQ and isolated the highest frequencies. With the MV2, I'll upward compress to increase detail and reduce the dynamic range. Lastly, and importantly, I'll use a plate reverb, in this case Plate by UVI, to create an airy and ethereal quality to the vocal sibilance and high frequencies. Let's take a listen to this bus being enabled, and even though it's a subtle effect, notice how it has a pleasant overall sound.
It's that time again, we gotta go. Yeah. Take on then I dash away from pole. Yeah. Snakes around my grass, they want my dodo. Yeah. But I keep a 40, they don't know, no. Yeah. Got the Hemi, you get cold. Yeah.
Trap Demo Master Stereo Output. Although it's a good idea to have your track mastered professionally, here's a quick demo master that works well for the genre. I'll start with the Gullfoss EQ to balance the full frequency spectrum of the track, but exclude the lows to keep those intact. Then with the Oxford limiter, I'll subtly limit and increase the enhance function to bring forward quieter details, making the mix sound a lot fuller. Next, I introduce the Pro L2 and set the algorithm to dynamic. This way I can expand the track while still making it louder. Now notice that I disabled true peak detection and instead introduced oversampling. This will help to retain transients. Lastly, I introduced a clipper to make it sound aggressive and add that small amount of white noise that we discussed earlier. This brought the loudness to about -9 LUFS, which is actually a little conservative for the genre. Let's take a listen to this processing being enabled.
It's that time again, we gotta go. Take one, then I dash away from Popo. Snakes around my grass, they want my dodo. But I keep a 40, they don't know, no. Got the Hemi, you get cocoa.
If you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching.